Chapter 4 Duke Huan of Qin prays to heaven and dreams of prophecy. Duke Zhong of Zheng unearths his mother's fate. After King Feng relocated to Luoyang, he saw thriving markets and majestic palaces, no different from Hao capital, and felt great joy. With the capital now settled, lords from all regions sent their formal congratulations, offering tributes and rare treasures. However, Qing state did not send envoys, prompting King Feng to consider a military campaign against them. His ministers objected, saying, "Qing has long remained outside our influence. King Shen once waged war against them, forcing them to submit. Since then, they have offered only a single cart of sacred grass each year, used for ritual wine, but were never expected to pay further tribute as a gesture of loose vassalage. Now, our dynasty has just relocated and the people are still unsettled. If we mobilize the army now, it is uncertain whether they will resist or comply. For now, it is best to practice restraint, allowing them to come willingly. Should they continue to refuse, we may wait until our military strength is restored. Then war shall not be too late." Upon hearing this, King Feng abandoned his plan for war. Qin Duke Shanggong prepared to return home. Before his departure, King Ping spoke to him. "Qifeng has been half-claimed by the Rong tribes. If you can drive them out, I shall grant you the entire land a reward for your loyal service. You will become the western stronghold of Zhou. Would that not be a glorious honor?" Duke Shanggong gratefully accepted the mission and returned to Qin. Upon arrival, he immediately mobilized his armies, formulating a grand strategy to eliminate the Rong threat. Within 3 years, his forces slaughtered the Rong warriors, leaving them scattered and broken. Their great generals, Feng Ding and Man Yesu, perished in battle, and their leader fled into the remote western wilderness. Qifeng, once a contested land, became wholly controlled by Qin. Duke Shanggong expanded his territory by 1,000 miles, laying the foundation for the rise of a mighty kingdom. A poem by Ran Wang. Where once kings Wen and Wu took root, how swiftly was it cast to Qin's rule. Qifeng remains grand as before, yet from it grew the first emperor's roar. The state of Qin traces its lineage to Emperor Zhang, one of the ancient sovereigns. Among his descendants was Gao Yao, who served as Minister of Justice during the reign of Emperor Yao. Gao Yao's son, Bo Yi, assisted King Yu in taming the floods, burning wild lands to drive out dangerous beasts. For his merit, he was granted the surname Ying and entrusted by Emperor Sun to oversee the royal livestock. Bo Yi had 2 sons, Ruomu and Dalian. Ruomu established the state of Shi, which remained a feudal domain from the Xia and Shang dynasties onward. During the reign of King Zhou of Shang, Dalian's descendant, Feilan, was known for his incredible speed, able to run 500 miles in a single day. His son, Erlai, possessed immense strength, tearing apart the hides of tigers and leopards with his bare hands. Both father and son became favored retainers of King Zhou, assisting him in his tyrannical rule. When King Wu of Zhou overthrew Shang, he executed Fei Lan and Erlai for their crimes. Yet Fei Lian's youngest son, Ji Sheng, survived. His great-grandson, Zhao Fu, became a legendary charioteer, earning favor with King Mu of Zhou, who granted him the land of Zhao, making him the ancestor of the Zhao clan in Qin state. Later, another descendant, Feizu, resided in Changqiu, excelling in the breeding of war horses. King Shao of Zhou recognized his talent, assigning him to raise horses along the Yi and Wei rivers, where his stables flourished. Overjoyed, King Shao granted him the land of Qin, establishing him as a vassal lord, allowing him to continue the Ying lineage under the title Lord of Qin. After 6 generations, Duke Shang of Qin proved his loyalty to the Zhou court, earning a noble title and receiving the lands of Qi Feng. With this new territory, Qin's power expanded, transforming it into a formidable state. Duke Shang established the capital in Yong, formally joining the ranks of the feudal lords. Upon the passing of Duke Shang of Qin, his son Duke Wen ascended the throne in the 15th year of King Ping's reign. One night, Duke Wen dreamed of the fields near Zhao, where a golden serpent descended from the sky and coiled around a mountain peak. Its head was as large as a chariot wheel, its body stretched to the ground, and its tail reached the heavens. Moments later, the serpent transformed into a child who spoke to him. "I am a child of the supreme deity. The heavens have ordained you as the White Emperor, ruler of the Western domains." With these words, the figure vanished. Upon waking, Duke Wen summoned his grand historian, Dun, to interpret the vision. Dun declared, "White is the color of the Western lands. Your rule over the West is divinely appointed. This prophecy foretells great fortune ahead." Taking the vision as an omen, Duke Wen ordered the construction of a high altar, founding the temple of the White Emperor, known as Chunji, where white oxen were sacrificed in worship. Meanwhile, hunters from Chencang captured a strange beast, pig-like, yet covered in sharp spines. They struck it down but could not identify its species, intending to present it to Duke Wen. On the way, they encountered 2 young boys, who pointed at the creature and said, "This beast is called Chang. It lurks underground, biting into human skulls. The only way to kill it is by striking its head." Suddenly, the waters of the Wei River seemed to speak. "These boys are spirit pheasants named Chunbao. If the male spirit is captured, it foretells kingship. If the female is captured, it heralds dominion." The 2 boys, upon hearing their secret revealed, transformed into wild pheasants, flying away. The female spirit settled north of Chencang Mountain, turning into a stone pheasant. As for the Chang beast, it vanished without a trace. Shocked by the event, the hunters rushed to inform Duke Wen. Taking the vision as a sacred sign, Duke Wen established the shrine of Chunbao in Chencang Mountain. Later, in Zhonan Mountain, a great tree stood tall. Duke Wen ordered it to be felled for palace timber, but saws could not cut through it, nor could axes pierce its bark. Then a sudden storm arose, forcing them to abandon their efforts. One night, a traveler rested beneath the mountain, where he overheard spirits gathered around a great tree, celebrating with eerie voices. The tree spirit responded to their chants, engaging in a strange exchange. Then, one ghost asked, "If Qin sends men to fell this tree, binding it with red silk, what will become of it?" The tree spirit fell silent, offering no response. The next morning, the traveler reported the conversation to Duke Wen. Taking the ghost's warning seriously, Duke Wen instructed his men to use red silk as they began cutting the tree. At that moment, the tree gave way, splitting apart. From its hollow trunk, a great blue ox emerged, galloping toward the Yong River. In the following days, villagers near the water reported seeing the ox rise from the depths, wandering the riverbanks. Upon hearing this, Duke Wen dispatched knights to hunt the beast. Yet the ox was powerful, striking down the riders, sending them crashing to the ground. One knight's helmet flew off, his hair scattering over his face, causing the ox to recoil in fear. After that, it never dared to emerge again. Taking this as a divine sign, Duke Wen issued a new military regulation, ordering all soldiers to wear ceremonial hairpieces. He also established the Shrine of Newt, offering sacrifices to the Great Spirit of the forest. Upon hearing that the state of Qing had conducted a ritual offering to the supreme deity, Duke Hui of Lu decided to do the same. He dispatched his Grand Minister Rong to the Zhou court, requesting permission to conduct the heaven worship ceremony, but King Feng refused. Duke Hui countered, "My ancestor, Duke Zhou, rendered great service to the royal court. The rites and music of Zhou were created by him. Why should his descendants be forbidden from practicing them? Moreover, if the Son of Heaven cannot restrain Qin, how can he forbid Lu?" With that, Duke Hui proceeded with the ritual, treating it as equal to the royal ceremony. King Feng, upon learning of the act, did not dare to intervene. From this moment on, the Zhou royal authority grew weaker, as feudal lords seized power for themselves. Rival states waged endless conflicts, plunging the realm into chaos and instability. A poem by the court historian. Since ancient times, kings alone ruled the heavens. Never had a feudal lord sought divine offerings. But from Qin and Lu began ambitions rise, as rival states stole royal power outright. Upon the passing of Duke Wu of Zheng, his son Jietu inherited the throne, becoming Duke Wu of Zheng. Taking advantage of the chaos within the Zhou court, he annexed the territories of Eastern Zhou and Zheng, relocating the capital to Xinjiang. He established Rongyang as the central city, setting border defenses and fortifications, marking the true rise of Zheng as a powerful state. Alongside Duke Wu of Wei, he held a prestigious position within the Zhou court. By the 13th year of King Ping's reign, Duke Wu of Wei passed away, leaving Duke Wu of Zheng as the sole minister overseeing Zhou affairs. Zheng's capital, Rongyang, stood close to Luyi, allowing Duke Wu to travel frequently between court and his homeland, solidifying his influence. Now, concerning Duke Wu's wife, she was Lady Zheng, daughter of Duke Sun Ho. She bore two sons. The elder was named Su Sheng. The younger was named Don. Why was the elder son given the strange title Su Sheng, born in sleep? When Lady Zheng gave birth to him, she had not been fully awake, delivering the child while still in a dreamlike state. Upon waking, she was startled to find the newborn. This shock led her to name the child Su Sheng, carrying a sense of unease toward him ever since. As for her younger son, Don, he grew into a strikingly handsome man, his skin as smooth as powdered jade, his lips as crimson as painted rouge. Not only did he possess exceptional strength, but he also excelled in archery, proving his martial prowess from a young age. Lady Zheng favored Don immensely, often thinking, if he were to inherit the throne, would he not surpass Su Sheng tenfold? She frequently praised Don's talents to Duke Wu, urging him to appoint Don as heir. However, Duke Wu refused, stating, "Elders must come before the young. Order must not be disrupted. Moreover, Su Sheng has committed no fault. How can I cast him aside to favor his younger brother?" Thus, Su Sheng was established as the rightful heir, while Don was granted the small domain of Gong, earning the title Gongsu, Prince of Gong. Lady Zheng grew even more displeased. Upon Duke Wu's passing, Su Sheng ascended the throne, becoming Duke Zhong of Zheng. He continued his father's role as Zhou's chief minister, maintaining great influence over the kingdom. Lady Zhang, however, was discontent, seeing her favored son, Gong Shudan, left with no real power. She confronted Duke Zhong, demanding, "You have inherited your father's rule, now commanding lands of hundreds of miles. Yet, your own brother struggles with a meager domain. How can you bear such cruelty?" Duke Zhong answered cautiously, "I shall act according to my mother's wishes." Lady Zhang proposed, "Why not grant him the city of Zhou?" Duke Zhong shook his head. "Zhou is a dangerous and fortified land, established by the will of our ancestors. It must never be divided. Apart from Zhou, I shall grant whatever my mother desires." Lady Zhang, growing impatient, insisted, "If not Zhou, then let him rule Jingxinj instead." Duke Zhong remained silent, unwilling to answer. Seeing his hesitation, Lady Zhang became enraged, declaring, "If you continue to refuse, I will banish him to another state, forcing him to seek his fortune elsewhere." Duke Zhong, startled, quickly responded, "I would never dare defy my mother's command." Thus, he retreated, yielding to her demands. The next day, Duke Zhong ascended the throne, formally announcing the appointment of Gong Shudan to his new domain. At court, Minister Ji Zhu stepped forward to object, saying, "The heavens do not permit two sons, nor does the realm allow two rulers. Jingxinj is a fortified city, its land vast and its people numerous, equal in strength to Rongyang. Moreover, Gong Shudan is the beloved son of Lady Zhang. If he is granted a powerful domain, he will become a second ruler. Trusting his mother's favor, he may harbor dangerous ambitions." However, Duke Zhong firmly replied, "I must honor my mother's wishes. How dare I refuse her?" With this, he granted Gong Shudan dominion over Jingxinj. Following his appointment, Gong Shudan entered the palace to bid farewell to Lady Zhang. She dismissed the attendants and spoke to him in secret. "Your brother has failed to recognize the bond of family. He has granted you this city reluctantly, only because I pleaded countless times. Though he has yielded outwardly, his heart remains doubtful. Upon reaching Jingxinj, you must gather troops and prepare in secret. If an opportunity arises, I shall send word to you. You shall raise an army against Zhang, and I shall open the gates from within. Once you seize the throne, I will die with no regrets." Gong Shudan accepted the command, setting off toward Jingxinj. From that moment on, the people ceased calling him Gong Shudan, instead addressing him as Tai Su of Jingxinj. When he opened his official residence, lords from the western and northern provinces arrived to celebrate his rise. Gong Shudan summoned the two magistrates overseeing the borderlands, declaring, "The lands under your authority now belong to me. From this day forward, all tribute and taxes must be delivered to my court, and all military chariots shall follow my command. There must be no delays or defiance." The two magistrates had long known that Gong Shudan was favored by the Queen Mother, with a strong chance of succeeding the throne. Now, seeing his commanding presence and impressive talents, they dared not resist, instead submitting to his orders. Using hunting expeditions as a cover, Gong Shudan regularly led troops outside the city, secretly training soldiers and expanding his forces. He recruited the border garrisons, registering them as part of his private army. Then, under the guise of hunting, he launched surprise attacks, seizing Guan and Linyan. The two magistrates of the conquered cities fled to Zhou, reporting Gong Shudan's growing rebellion directly to Duke Zhong. Upon hearing the news, Duke Zhong merely smiled, remaining silent. Suddenly, a court official spoke out, shouting, "Gong Su Dan must be executed." Duke Zhong lifted his gaze, recognizing the voice of his senior minister, Gong Zilu. Duke Zhong asked, "What wisdom do you bring, Zufeng?" Gong Zilu stepped forward. "I have heard that no minister may command armies, for to do so invites treason. Now, Gong Sudan enjoys royal favor from the Queen Mother, while his fortress at Jingqin stands firm, and he trains soldiers day and night, clearly harboring ambitions to seize the throne. Your Majesty should grant me an elite force, allowing me to march on Jingqin, capture Gong Sudan, and eliminate this threat once and for all." Duke Zhong dismissed the idea. "Gong Sudan's crimes are not yet evident. How can I condemn him so soon?" Gong Zilu pressed on. "He has already seized 2 border provinces, Guan and Linyan. These are lands ruled by your ancestors. How can we allow them to be taken piece by piece?" Duke Zhong smiled. "Gong Sudan is the beloved son of Lady Jiang, as he is my beloved brother. I would rather lose territory than betray my kin or go against my mother's wishes." Gong Zilu stood firm. "I do not fear the loss of land. I fear the loss of the kingdom. The people see Gong Sudan's rising power, and many already hesitate, unsure where their loyalties lie. If this continues, even the citizens of the capital will grow divided. Your Majesty tolerates Gong Sudan today, but will Gong Sudan tolerate your Majesty tomorrow? By then, it will be too late for regrets." Duke Zhong dismissed the concerns, saying, "Do not speak rashly. I shall act as needed." Gong Zilu left the palace and met with Minister Zhu, sighing, "Our Lord allows personal sentiment to overshadow the fate of the state. I am deeply troubled." Zhu reassured him. Duke Zhong is a man of exceptional intellect. He will not sit idle. He merely avoids speaking openly in the presence of the court. You are of noble rank. If you question him privately, you will find clarity. Following this advice, Gong Zilu approached the palace gates, requesting another audience with Duke Zhong. Upon receiving him, Duke Zhong asked, "Why have you come again?" Gong Zilu responded, "Your rise to power did not align with the Queen Mother's intentions. If internal and external forces conspire against you, disaster could strike at any moment, leaving Zhong no longer yours. This weighs heavily upon me, and so I ask once more." Duke Zhong hesitated. "This matter is tied to the Queen Mother." Gong Zilu pressed further. "Has your Majesty not heard of Duke Zhou's punishment of Guan Zhong? A leader who hesitates to act against threats will only invite greater ruin. It is vital to decide swiftly." Duke Zhong sighed. "I have considered this deeply. Though Duan's actions are questionable, he has yet to openly rebel. If I move against him now, Lady Jiang will surely intervene, sparking criticism from outsiders. People will see me as both unkind and unfilial. For now, I shall ignore his transgressions, allowing him to act as he pleases. His favor from our mother emboldens his reckless ambition. When his treachery becomes undeniable, then I shall punish him openly. At that point, the people will refuse to support him, and Lady Jiang will have no defense for his crimes." Gong Zilu conceded, "Your foresight surpasses mine. Yet, the longer he is allowed to grow, the more his power spreads like unchecked vines. How will we stop him then? If your Majesty chooses to wait, at least force his hand to act sooner." Duke Zhong asked, "What is your strategy?" Gong Zilu replied, Your Majesty has avoided court affairs, wary of Gong Su Duan's movements. Now, if news spreads that Your Majesty plans a royal journey, Dong will assume the capital is left undefended and mobilize troops to seize Zhou. I shall station hidden forces near Jingqinj, lying in wait. Once he marches out, our soldiers will seize his fortress, cutting off his retreat. Meanwhile, Your Majesty will lead an army through Linyan, attacking from the rear. Dong, even if he had wings, could not escape our grasp. Duke Zhong nodded. This plan is excellent. Ensure that no one learns of it. As Gongzalur departed the palace, he murmured, Jizu's understanding of events is near prophetic. At dawn, Duke Zhong issued a false decree, appointing Minister Jizu as regent while he departed for the Zhou court, claiming to assist the king in governance. Upon hearing this, Lady Zhang was overjoyed, exclaiming, Dong is destined to be king. She immediately wrote a secret letter, dispatching her trusted envoy to Jingqinj, instructing Gongsu Dong to prepare for war in early May. At the time, it was already late April. However, Gongzalur had anticipated this move, stationing spies along the key roads. They captured the messenger, executed him on the spot, and delivered the letter to Duke Zhong. Upon reading its contents, Duke Zhong resealed the letter, sending a new envoy disguised as Lady Zhang's messenger to deliver it to Gongsu Dong. In response, Dong confirmed the planned uprising, setting the invasion date for May 5th. He instructed his supporters to raise a white flag atop the city walls, marking the point of entry for reinforcements. Duke Zhong, now holding irrefutable proof of Duan's treason, exclaimed, His confession is here. Lady Zhang can no longer shield him. With that, he entered the palace to bid farewell to Lady Zhang, claiming he was departing for Zhou. Instead, he secretly began marching toward Linyan, advancing slowly and deliberately. Meanwhile, Gongzalur led 200 chariots, positioning them in ambush near Jingqinj, ready for battle. What unfolds next shall be revealed soon. Gongsu Dong received the secret letter from Lady Zhang, immediately conferring with his son, Gong Sunhua. They devised a plan. Gong Sunhua would travel to Wei, offering great riches in exchange for military reinforcements. Meanwhile, Gongsu Dong gathered troops from Jingqinj and the nearby regions, publicly declaring that he was acting under Duke Zhuang's orders, supposedly governing the state in his absence. With this pretense, he hosted a grand feast for the soldiers, then marched out with confidence. However, Gongzalur had already prepared a counterattack. He disguised 10 chariot units as merchants, secretly sending them into Jingqinj, waiting for the moment Gongsu Dun's forces mobilized. Once the rebellion was underway, Gongzalur's men set fire to the city walls, signaling the attack. Upon seeing the flames, Gongzalur led his troops into battle, swiftly storming the city. The residents, recognizing Duke Zhuang's legitimacy, opened the gates, allowing his forces to enter unopposed. In mere moments, Jingqinj was secured, without excessive bloodshed. Following the victory, Duke Zhong issued a proclamation, reassuring the people and exposing Gongsu Duan's betrayal. The decree highlighted Duke Zhuang's loyalty and filial devotion, while condemning Gongsu Dong for his treachery and ingratitude. With this revelation, the entire city turned against Gongsu Dong, denouncing him as a traitor to the state. Gongsu Dong mobilized his forces, but within 2 days, he received devastating news. Jingqinj had fallen. Panic gripped his heart. Rushing back overnight, he stationed his troops outside the city, preparing to lay siege. However, whispers spread among his soldiers. Some had received letters from family within the city, saying, Duke Zhang is a ruler of great virtue, while Gongsudan is ungrateful and unjust. What started as murmurs became a wave. One voice turned to 10 to 100. The soldiers felt the weight of their betrayal, realizing their actions violated the natural order. A mass desertion followed, his army scattering in fear of divine retribution. When Gongsudan reviewed his troops, nearly half had abandoned him. Seeing his position crumbling, he fled toward Zhao, hoping to rally new forces. Yet, to his horror, Duke Zhang had already stationed troops at Qing, cutting off any hope of escape. Desperate, he retreated to Gongqing, declaring, "This was once my rightful land." There, he sealed the gates, bracing himself for a final stand. Duke Zhang led his army in pursuit, surrounding the city. But Gongqing was too small, and its defenses too weak. It could not withstand the combined assault from both fronts. Like a mighty mountain crushing fragile eggs, the city fell within moments. Seeing his brother approaching, Gongsudan sighed in despair. "Lady, Zhang has led me astray. How can I face my brother now?" With no path left, he took his own life, ending his tragic fate. A poem by Hu Ceng. A beloved brother, granted a grand domain, with the palace aiding his schemes. Yet, righteousness will never tolerate betrayal. Born in Jingqing, fallen in Gong. Another poem on Duke Zhuang's strategy. A son's fate lies in his upbringing. Ambition turns to disaster when unchecked. From the moment Gongsudan took Jingqing, his downfall was already in motion. Duke Zhang held Gongsudan's lifeless body, weeping bitterly. "Foolish child, why did it come to this?" With sorrow in his heart, he sorted through Duan's belongings and found Lady Zhang's secret letters. Gathering Duan's response letter, he combined them into a single document and dispatched a messenger to Zhang, ordering Jizhu to present them to Lady Zhang. He then exiled Lady Zhang to Ying, declaring a solemn vow, "Until I reach the Yellow Springs, I shall never see you again." Upon receiving the letters, Lady Zhang was overcome with shame, unable to find the courage to face Duke Zhang. Without protest, she left the palace gates, retreating to Ying, never to return. Back in Shang's capital, Duke Zhang found the absence of Lady Zhang weighing on him. He sighed deeply, lamenting, "I had no choice but to execute my brother, yet how could I also abandon his mother? Truly, I have become a sinner against my own kin." In Ying Valley, there lived a nobleman named Ying Kaosu, a man of upright character, known widely for his filial piety and selflessness. Upon hearing that Duke Zhang had banished Lady Zhang to Ying, he remarked to others, "Though a mother may falter, a son must remain a son. This decision is an affront to virtue." Determined to make his point, Ying Kaosu captured several blackbirds, disguising his visit as a gift of wild game, and presented them to Duke Zhang. The Duke asked, "What birds are these?" Ying Kaosu replied, "These birds are called Ya. They are blind to great mountains by day, yet keen enough to spot the finest details at night. Their vision is sharp in small matters, but blind in the grand scheme. As chicks, they rely on their mothers for nourishment. Yet once fully grown, they turn against their mothers, attacking them. Thus, they are deemed birds of unfilial nature and are best captured and eaten." Duke Zhang fell silent. Just then, the royal chef arrived, presenting a steamed lamb dish. The Duke carved a shoulder piece and offered it to Yin Kaosu. However, instead of eating it, Yin Kaosu carefully wrapped the finest portion in paper, hiding it in his sleeve. Curious, the Duke asked, "Why do you store the meat instead of eating it?" Yin Kaosu answered, "My humble home shelters an elderly mother, and we live in poverty. Each day, I gather wild game to satisfy her hunger, yet we have never enjoyed such fine cuisine. Now, the Duke bestows this honor upon me, yet my mother remains untouched by this generosity. How can I feast while my mother goes without? Thus, I carry this portion home to prepare a nourishing soup for her." Duke Zhong sighed deeply, remarking, "You are truly a filial son." Moved by this exchange, the Duke let out a long sigh. Sensing his sorrow, Yin Kaosu asked, "Why does your majesty sigh?" Duke Zhong replied, "You have a mother to honor, fulfilling your duty as a son. I, though a noble ruler, find myself inferior to you." Feigning ignorance, Yin Kaosu questioned further. "Lady Zhang remains in her dwelling. How does your majesty lack a mother?" At last, Duke Zhong recounted the story, how Lady Zhang conspired with Gong Su Dan, how the rebellion unfolded, and how she was exiled to Ying, bound by his solemn vow. "Until I reach the Yellow Springs, I shall never see her again." Upon hearing this, Yin Kaosu proposed a solution. "Gong Su Dan is gone, and Lady Zhang now has only your majesty as her son. Yet, she remains unacknowledged, akin to the Ya bird rejecting its mother. If your majesty regrets swearing upon the Yellow Springs, I offer a way to resolve it." Duke Zhong asked, "What solution do you have?" Yin Kaosu explained, "Dig into the earth until a natural spring emerges, and construct an underground chamber there. Invite Lady Zhang to reside within, and formally announce your majesty's longing for her. Surely, a mother's love for her child is no lesser than a child's yearning for their mother. Then, within this earthly spring, your majesty may reunite with her, thus honoring your vow without truly violating it." Duke Zhong was overcome with joy, immediately ordering Yin Kaosu to gather 500 strong men. At Chiwei, beneath Niapai Mountain, they dug deep into the earth, piercing over 10 fathoms below, where a spring burst forth. Beside the flowing waters, they constructed a wooden chamber, crafting a sanctuary in the depths. Once completed, a tall ladder was placed, descending into the underground dwelling. Yin Kaosu journeyed to Lady Zhang, conveying Duke Zhuang's remorse, his desire to reunite and fulfill his filial duty. Upon hearing this, Lady Zhang felt both sorrow and relief, emotions interwoven with regret and longing. Yin Kaosu first escorted Lady Zhang to the chamber beneath Niapai Mountain, settling her within the hidden sanctuary. Soon after, Duke Zhong arrived, descending the long ladder into the underground chamber. The moment he set foot within, he fell to his knees, declaring with a trembling voice, "I, Su Sheng, have been unfilial. Long have I neglected my duty as a son. I beg my mother's forgiveness." Lady Zhang responded, "This is my own failing. It bears no burden upon you." She reached out, lifting her son from the ground. Mother and son embraced, their tears falling freely, washing away years of grief and distance. Ascending from the depths, Duke Zhong personally assisted Lady Zhang into her carriage, choosing to walk beside her, holding the reins himself. As the people witnessed their reunion, they raised their hands to their foreheads, offering deep reverence for Duke Zhuang's filial devotion. All recognized that this reconciliation was made possible by Yin Kaoshu's wisdom and mediation. A poem by Hu Ceng, bound by an oath to never see his mother, a vow severing the sacred bonds. Yet within a hidden cavern, a son returns to honor his kin. Duke Zhong, deeply grateful to Yin Kaoshu for preserving the bond between mother and son, granted him the noble rank of Grand Minister and entrusted him with joint military command alongside Gong Sun Kuo. With this, Yin Kaoshu's wisdom secured not only peace in the household, but also favor within the court. Meanwhile, Gong Su Duan's son, Gong Sunhua, had successfully secured military aid from Wei. Yet, as he marched toward Zheng, word reached him mid-journey his father had been slain. Stricken with fear, he abandoned his campaign, fleeing to Wei. There, he pleaded his case before Duke Huan of Wei, recounting how his uncle had killed his father and exiled his grandmother. Upon hearing this, Duke Huan declared, "Duke Zhong has defied all virtue. Zheng must be punished." With that, Wei mobilized its armies, preparing to invade Zheng. What shall be the fate of Zheng? The answer awaits in the next chapter.